Okay, we're going to talk about the Vav-Reversive now. The Vav-Reversive is, in essence, the opposite of the Vav-Consecutive. The Vav-Consecutive is the opposite of the Vav-Reversive. So whereas the Vav-Consecutive takes an imperfect form, a three-letter root onto which a prefix has been added, it takes an imperfect form and reverses it to be past tense. The Vav-Reversive takes a perfect form, takes a form upon which an affix has been attached. The Vav-Reversive takes a perfect form and reverses it and makes it have a future orientation, something that's about to happen. And so it has a variety of different connotations grammatically. Sometimes it has a sort of subjunctive feel, which is a way of communicating desire. You want something to happen so deeply that you talk about it as if it has already happened. So that would have the implication of subjunctive, which English subjunctive mood is created by the addition of words like might or may, something like that. So, or would. Oh, that you would love the Lord your God, from Ve'ahavta, which is a Vav-Reversive from the Shema. Or let us do something, or that we might do something, or something like that. But it also, on the other hand, has a kind of imperative force. You'll recall we talked all about this at the intensive. It has an imperative force. And so rhetorically, you might use the Vav-Reversive to communicate a desire, not just that something would happen, but you're basically telling someone to do something. So the way that a Vav-Reversive is created is you take a perfect form, or a form upon which an affix has been created. We'll just use ahavta as an example. Okay, here we have ahavta. Hopefully you can see that. Ahavta. And you add, all you add is a vav with a shava. It's called a simple vav. A vav with a shava at the beginning of a perfect form. Generally, reverses it and makes it a Vav-Reversive, pointing it off in a future direction in terms of tense. Now, the textbook suggests, and it does so correctly, that this is somewhat dependent on context. And so you want to think, what is the most appropriate translation of this perfect form? Does it make the most sense for it to be anticipating something, or an expression of some kind of desire, or perhaps a command of some sort? Or is this actually talking about something in the past, and this vav is really just a vav connecting two things? So, and this happened, and this happened. Or, and this was completed, and this was completed. I would say, generally, if you have a vav with a shava connected to a perfect form, generally it's going to be a Vav-Reversive. Another thing to keep in mind about the Vav-Reversive is that it also has a very specific context into which it almost always appears. So with the Vav-Consecutive, the Mesa pair, that almost always is spoken, a verb form spoken by the narrator in narration. So a way of telling stories, which is a way of suggesting that almost every Mesa pair form, almost every Vav-Consecutive form, is going to be in the third person, because the narrator is always referring to someone else, telling the audience about something someone did or something that happened, right? Which is one person telling another person about a third person, right? So that's third person form. The Vav-Reversive, on the other hand, is almost exclusively within dialogue. And so Vav-Reversives are almost never spoken by the narrator. They're always spoken by characters within the drama that's being told, within the story being told. And so if you have a moment of dialogue that includes a perfect vav, a perfect verb with a vav, with a shava attached to it, you can be pretty certain that it's going to be a vav-reversive. And so what it does, again, just to summarize, is it takes a perfect form, which we would usually translate as past, and it translates it as a future, either in the subjunctive mood, perhaps as an imperative, and maybe just as a simple future. Although that simple future, because it's happening in dialogue, and often will be second person, not always, but often will be second person, it might then carry some imperative force.